you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, it's 6 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order for the Wellsprings Unified Unit School District Board of Directors. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First order of business is to approve the agenda. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Amanda. All those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. General public comment. Is there anyone here online who would like to speak tonight? All right. I'll have another public comment later in the meeting. Consent agenda. We have the warrants and minutes that need to be approved as well. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Matt. Any questions regarding the warrants or any changes to the minutes? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Personnel, contract recommendations. Let's see, we have all right, everyone should have the contract recommendations from the drive. Any questions regarding contract recommendations? If not, a motion to, actually, this is just for information. Amanda?
Sorry, you said it's for information only, so then I didn't have a question anymore.
Okay. What's that?
She can still ask a question.
I was just wondering if for all of the rates, if they were only based on time and service or if anything else went into deciding those rates, or it was strictly just the scale that has been discussed in the past.
So, Amanda, it's the same scale that's been discussed in the past.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if there are other questions, we'll move on to resignation. We have one resignation for Mackenzie Gates. Motion would be in order to accept the resignation with regret.
I can make that motion.
All right, thanks, Amanda. All those in favor of accepting the resignation, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. All right, superintendent's report.
Thanks, Eric. I'll be quick tonight, so we get to the principal reports, but there are two things I just want to highlight. One, I just want to publicly congratulate the sixth graders from both Middletown Springs and Wells Village School as they graduate this year. I just want to wish them the best of luck as they move on, whether it be through our schools or to other schools. Just wish them best luck in all their future endeavors. Just I wish I could be there, but we have a lot of different graduations going on, and I have my own daughter's graduation to attend as well. So it's been a very busy week. But like I said, I just want to publicly congratulate the families and students on a job well done and wish them all the best. I also want to make note of, I know at the last board meeting, we did talk about PCV testing, and it was brought to our attention that in May of 2024, literally right before our meeting, there was an update to the schedule that was not there was an update to the schedule that was not made public. It was kind of done behind the scenes, but the PCB testing schedule has been updated for both Middletown Springs as well as Village. Middletown Springs now has been pushed back a year, so their testing window begins July 1st through September 30th of 2025. And Wells Village has been pushed back 2 years to January 1st, 2026 and to March 31st, 2026. So as I've said at the JRCSU board meeting, we will keep a very close eye on what's happening with PCB testing, particularly around the fund, the fund balance that exists for the state. And if there are any updates, I will bring this to the Wells board just for discussion and review as we see forward. But as I said, the facilities committee meeting, there's really not a lot to do between now and July of 2025. We just really wait for the state to contact us about when our testing window is, and then the state and the DEC works very closely with Lori Carroll as well as our facilities director in getting the testing set up. But once that starts to occur, we will have a letter that'll go out to families, explain the process. But if you obviously have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or to Carol or Corey. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions. And the rest really is just for the board. So.
All right, any questions? All right, thank you. We'll move on to principals' reports.
So first, I would like to also congratulate our 6th grade graduates. We held our graduation last night. It's lovely to see so many of our family and community members come out to celebrate these students who they've worked very hard this year. I would also like to extend a big congratulations and thank you to Sherry McNeil as she retires in just a few days. I believe she has been teaching for 36 years, though my number may be wrong. So she has definitely earned some relaxation. Other things that are coming up, Middletown is hosting just a review meeting of our continuous improvement plan. That any parents or community members that would like to be part of this, reviewing it, providing feedback. The meeting will be held tomorrow, which is Thursday at 1 o'clock. Please just reach out to either myself or to Susan Rosso and we will email you the link. It'll be a virtual meeting. The continuous improvement plan just outlines our goals, academic and social emotional, for the upcoming year. Let's see, I would like to extend a congratulations to our kindergarten through 6th grade rock climbing team. They took 2nd place in the elementary school state championship.
Wow.
We have the trophy on display in the front walkway for anybody that would like to see it. These kids, I think this is the 2nd year they've placed 2nd. So they work really, really hard. And that's quite an accomplishment for such a wide range of ages as well. Other events, we've had quite a few. It's been a busy month. So we took a K-4 field trip to Bins. We did a K-6 field trip to Fort Ticonderoga. We had a very successful lake day at Crystal Beach. And then this past Monday, we held field day. It was a little dreary out, but the kids didn't let that stop them. And I'd just like to extend a big thank you to not only our students and our staff, but to all of the parents that made all of these opportunities possible for our students. We also held our music concert last week. It was wonderful to see the kids. Each grade got up and sang their song, and we also had some music ensembles, instruments, guitar, and band, which was great to see. And then I'm going to put a plug in. June 22nd is the Strawberry Jam 5K in Middletown. So if you have not yet registered, we would encourage you to do so.
Any questions?
I have one question. I think it could wait till Carol's, but essentially both of the principal reports mentioned substitute teaching vacancies. So I don't know if we want to talk after about what's the best way to maintain or improve our substitute teacher program.
What was it? Was he ask a question? Well,
I guess the question is, do we need to change our substitute teaching program so that we can ensure that we get more substitutes in the building when we need those substitutes? Do we need to pay them more? Go back to Kelly Services? I don't know what the solution is, but both principals called it out, and I think it's worth discussing.
no, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that might be like an SU discussion since the substitute program is done at the SU level.
Yes, I think we also look at local approaches that, because we do see pockets that fill rates, and I know that's in Middletown Springs as well as it's much more difficult to fill these two schools, so we may have to look at other solutions. I know that, Matt, I'll just address the rate of pay. I think that's something which we are considering, but we cannot do anything with the rate of pay until we negotiate the support staff contract. So once that has been settled and agreed upon, then we can then look at adjusting the sub rate of pay. But we're kind of locked in with our support staff negotiations right now, which kind of restricts what we can and can't do.
Question, what are they being paid right now?
The subs, what are they being paid right now?
Yeah.
It depends on the time. Let me get back to you on that. The exact number.
Mary?
Hi guys, I know I've said this before. I was really comfortable substituting the few times in Middletown Springs because that's my home school. But I was also allowed to, if I choose to, take other positions at other schools, which was a little intimidating for me. So I know I've brought it up before, but like, even if, Middletown Springs and Wells could adopt a shadow day, like a paid shadow day. Like, so when I go to Wells, I know how to use the phone system, or, I know, where the emergency exits are, or I know, where the staff bathroom is. Just kind of those really basic, almost a shadow day. I think that would encourage at least, someone like me to kind of branch out and do other schools. So it's just an idea maybe that we can think about moving forward.
Okay. I did have a question about the continuous improvement plans. So I see you did, says you created the first draft. Aren't they typically done like with stakeholders and staff and
So I know it can be done many different ways.
Okay.
And just given the timing of the year, staffing, I was filling in for Susan quite a bit this year, so my availability was a little more limited. So we decided to go with, we looked at what we had last year and we're really rolling it over. Just looking at data and making sure that we're taking into account what the data says this year, and then just bringing it before it's not written in stone. So now looking at feedback from the community and taking that. Now, it's not that we're not bringing it forward saying this is done.
Oh yeah. No, I see that.
But we're not going to consider what you say. That's not what we're doing.
Yeah. No, I know it's it's an in-depth process, for at least what participation I've done pre-COVID.
Yeah, I have sat on committees that have handled it many different ways. I've sat on committees where it's the staff who have created really that first draft and then brought it forward. And then I've sat on committees where it's, a bigger committee.
All right. And then how do you, for community input, how do you reach out to the community? Is
So we put it in our Friday notices. I found that whatever staff, or excuse me, not staffing, but community email list that I have is not accurate and up to date. So our Friday notices, Susan has a different list than I do because she created one herself. So I know that is going to all of our parents.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Mary Beth, do you have another question for Corey?
Yeah, I just wanted to state that I've been a part of that, the CIP either last year or the year before, Corey. And one thing Mr. Beal did was incorporate some of the 5th and 6th grade students to have their inputs, and they had some really great insights about, you know, what they wanted to see as far as more academics or like emotional environment of the school or, you know, something like that. So just really quickly, I'm not sure, even if it's not in the plan for this year, maybe we can think about that, inviting those students who want to participate in the future.
Yes, so we did not specifically, we did not sit down with students and say, this is our SIP and this is what we're doing. But we did, our 5th and 6th graders worked very closely with Up for Learning and with Mr. Carlson this year, looking at our school-wide climate data. And they presented to our staff, I believe it was actually last week, some improvements that they would like to see within the school. And so that information has been incorporated into the continuous improvement plan.
All right. Thank you. All right, Carol.
I'm gonna kind of just sound very similar in the congratulations department to our 6th graders. We had graduation last night as well, and I think it was a really lovely event, well attended by the families and our teachers. Wishing all of our kids well as they, you know, move forward in their educational journeys. On Monday, we had the pleasure of having 6 of our graduates that are actually graduating high school do a walkthrough here. And they did a wonderful job of telling our students. They came in cap and gown. They processed through the halls. They told our students what they're doing, how they're moving forward, where they're going to college. And it felt really nice to have all 6 of them say they're all attending college. They're going for anything from med tech to a vet degree to 2 nurses. And it was really great to see our students just kind of looking, saying that's what I could do too. So I really appreciated that whole process, and I think that I'm hopeful it's going to do it each year. We do have 2 staff members that are not going to be with us anymore. So a huge thank you to Mackenzie Gates, as she is actually going to still be employed by the GRCSU, just in a different capacity. I'm very proud of her for choosing that path. However, we will miss her deeply in the office here. So our best to her. And Martha Camara is actually has not re-signed her contract to be with us, and we're very sad about that as well. She's done a phenomenal job as our interventionist this year, stepping into a very difficult situation. And she's made us very proud. The kids loved her, and she did a really good job. On Memorial Day, we had a parade and we released our trout. It was a great event, and then our students actually ran 4 separate programs for the rest of the school. They had a PowerPoint presentation, they explained their entire process, and then they ran learning stations for all of our kids. So that was our afternoon, and it was a day of fun and actually a great learning experience for them, because they then realized what teachers put up with as they tried to teach roots. So we had our finishing Girls on the Run did their run in Manchester on Saturday, and then Velocity finished up. I just want to thank Lisa Madison, Gloria Weber, and Eric for being willing to help our students have that opportunity. 5th and 6th grade went on their class trip, and they ended their evening at the Paramount at the performance of Stomp, which they then came back and created their own presentations, and they performed for our Monday gathering, which was really great because they absolutely loved it. Let's see. And actually today, Mary Ward, who's our librarian at both schools, came back, and there is a new bookstore, the Laureate Fine Bookstore in Pulte, Vermont. And she had gone to them to order Red Clover books. Long story short, they have had a delay in their opening, so we didn't get our books in both schools. And Rachel and Ryan decided that they were going to donate all the Red Clover books to both schools. Oh, wow. So a shout out for local business and support of our schools. And we want to thank them very much for doing that.
How many books was that?
What's
How
that?
many books?
Initially, it was gonna be 8. It was gonna be 4 apiece, and I'm not sure how many she actually ordered from each one. She just sent me a text message and said they contacted her and said the rest of the Red Clover books came in and they were donating those as well. She didn't give me a full total, because I'm not sure if she ordered all of them from there. Not positive, she didn't say. But we know it's more than 8 books hardcover. So very generous of them and very much appreciated.
All right, there it is. That was my other question. All right, thank you. Any questions for Carol? No, I just want to add to the velocity aspect of it, and just also add, thanks to John Carlson for running the program at Middletown Springs, and also Rick Beal for being the coordinator for the Blue Cross Blue Shield for the Velocity program. He organized a fantastic year-end culmination event for multiple schools, including ours, up on Killington Mountain doing bike riding. It was Wells, Middletown Springs, Tinmouth, Benson. I think those are the schools that participated. There were so many. It was a great day, and the boys enjoyed it. So, okay. So if there's no other questions, we'll move on to, I just had something to report to the board. It's just a little verbal update. So every year, we have the Helen Henderson Memorial Scholarship Fund, which assists students in their post-secondary college with a stipend. And so we reviewed the applications this month, and we have the applicants who we have approved, which is pretty much all of them that apply, are Molly Heyer and Tyler Weatherhog. So I just wanted to congratulate them. And that's all I pretty much had as far as the Henderson Fund. I think George wanted to share something
I
about students.
just would like to do a shout out for one of our students, and they're still our students all the way through 12th grade. So this is just a little story from the Vermont News Guide dated June 3rd. And it says a Long Trail senior, Mira Morgan, broke the Vermont State D4 discus record at a track and field meet held in Manchester. She represents Long Trail School. Having never participated in track and field events, Morgan discovered her talent for throwing. So she competes in discus, javelin, and shot put events. Her coaches, Todd Smith and Meredith Morgan, have been anxiously watching her performance this season as she came closer to breaking the state throwing record. The record was 29.42 meters. She now holds the record of 29.62 meters, which is 97 feet, 2 inches for all you older folk. And I just wanted to congratulate her, and it's shows what our students do, how our families support them, and some of the schools that we send our older kids to are doing a bang up job. So thank you, Eric.
Okay.
That's the week.
All right, we're going to move on to finance. Monthly financials are in the packet. Anyone have any questions? It would probably be best suited to email Lewis since he's not here. Next, we have the tax anticipation notice. So everyone has the proposal in the amount of $820,000 for a 12-month term beginning July 1, 2024, ending in June 30th, 2025. Are there any questions? We would need a motion to accept this.
I'll make the motion.
Motion to accept by Meredith, the tax anticipation notice. All right. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Moving on to unfinished business. So at our last meeting, we talked about our public forums for the consolidation discussions. And I think the next step we want to do is pick a date so that we can commit to it and pretty much discuss how we want to how we want these meetings to basically go. So I think we had initially talked in September.
One thing we might not want to just, not just consolidation. Kind of how we want to move forward. So consolidation may not even be something that happens.
Yeah, I mean,
So I just want to make sure that the forum, it's
okay.
more about, yeah, how are we going to move forward? How does consolidation be an option?
Right. Well, yeah, with all the options, because not all the options are about consolidation.
Correct. And there may be options that the community might come up with that we haven't.
Okay. All right. All right. That's a good point. What do you think we should call it?
Collaboration, maybe? Like together, what can we do to change? I don't know.
Future Wellsprings.
Yeah. Well, whatever we think will get people to come. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
I
I just didn't want to limit it to consolidation.
okay. I think consolidation should be in it somewhere.
Opportunities for
Yeah.
Wellsprings, options.
Yeah.
3-year plan.
Maybe future options and potential consolidation of Wells Springs.
Future options.
Well, it's something to think about but when do we want to have these public forums? I think that is going to be like one of the first steps too, because one, initially, I think we talked about having like 2 public forums to start out with. And if that's still what the board is considering and when. So, because once we decide when we're gonna have these public forums, we start putting the information out there, the sooner the better. Mary?
Yeah, I would encourage the board to absolutely think about 2, if not more, And just on a side note, I would also encourage the board to somehow incorporate childcare for that meeting. I know we've had a lot of success in the past with kind of outside meetings that provide childcare. I'm not sure exactly how to do it, or I mean, how to recruit those staff members or even parents who are willing to step up and. But I just think that's a really important part.
Matt?
Also agree that that would be helpful. I'm just chiming in with my own title, which is Uniting Our Schools, A Path to Stronger Education.
Okay. As far as when, uh, do you have any thoughts, Matt, on a date? I'm looking, I think, let's see, our September meetings, the 11th. Should we have it on a Wednesday still?
I think that sounds good versus like a Friday where people might have plans middle of the week, Tuesday,
25th?
Wednesday, or Thursday.
How do people feel about the 25th?
Works for me.
Amanda?
The 25th is good. I was just going to add into what Mary said about childcare. Possibly we could reach out to like Long Trail and Poultney and see if there's any students there that maybe even need to check some community service off their list to meet some requirements. And possibly we could use a group of those kids. I know that other area schools have been able to have success doing that. Possibly we could see if they have anyone available to help us and just kind of watch the kids in the library or something. I don't know how everyone feels about that, but
That's something the PTOs can help with, or something like that. I mean, I don't know. It's an idea though. All right. Anyone have any objection to September 25th for our first, 25th?
Oh, used to be.
I figured 2 weeks after our regular meeting
Oh, the 20th.
might,
Not great for me, but I may not be able to do it.
well, what day works for you? Is like another day? Because it doesn't have to be one. I'm just throwing out
Yeah,
dates.
no, I know. The following day, the following week would be better. The 20, or the week before, the 18th.
The
Not a
18th?
problem.
No,
It's not good
Not good for you.
for most people on the date, so as many as you can.
I think,
Is Thursday night a better night? Or are you just trying to stick with Wednesday because that's when we have a meeting?
yeah, I just threw out Wednesday. Like, I'm just trying to start the conversation. And,
If you're doing it in Wells, Thursday would not work with the Woodman bingo.
Well, that is a thing. We should do it in each school. That should be the
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Two. But trying to draw from both communities for each meeting, not have two separate, focused meetings. Focuses on both schools in school.
right. Yeah. My thought would be, we would, the basis for the first public forum would be the same. So we'd have one in one school and one in another, and it would be basically the same.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know.
I can see why you would do it, but
I feel like that almost defeats our purpose of bringing us together by
Yeah.
doing the same thing twice. I would
Exactly.
say 2 different locations. Each location covers most of the same information with a little bit of additional information. But
Okay.
I would think the same thing in both places kind of defeats our collaboration attempt of community within both schools.
Okay. Uh,
Well, what about doing the first 2 meetings separately and then, targeting a third meeting date where we would
Yeah.
put what we got? Because I'm just concerned that, people in Wells are gonna more want to stay in their community, more likely to come out in their community, as will Middletown,
Yeah. but that's what I thought, and again, it's a conversation. And that's why I thought, if we pick a date, we're picking a date months in advance, right? And let's say it doesn't work, right? For a lot of parents or community members on that particular day. And so having a second one that is basically modeled like the first one just provides another opportunity. And that's along the thought process I had. But again, I'm not, we need to do what works and makes sense. And we don't want to have a meeting where we organize a meeting and then just people don't show up either because they went to the first one. So we got choices to make, and that's why it's a full-on agenda item. We want to structure this, and that's not even to say we still have from our last meeting, when you look at the template we have for the public forum, the 4 scenarios, we still have that to work through over the summer as well. So, but okay. But still need to pick a date.
What about Thursday the 19th?
Well, if it's gonna,
That's Thursday's the problem with the modern Woodsman.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
yeah, if we did it, we could do it at Middletown Springs.
Middletown Springs said that.
But
Yeah,
then,
but then we wouldn't get people that may
Lot of-
potentially be attending bingo
yeah,
or working at bingo, or maybe Tuesday that week, Tuesday the 17th. I can do anything except the 10th and 13th for all of September.
So Eric, just so I'm clear, it's basically the same meeting, 2 locations, correct? So like you said, say I'm, a Middletown mom, I work Tuesday nights, but I heard, oh, there's another meeting, same meeting, I'll go next Wednesday. Is that correct? Are we doing?
I mean, that depends what everyone thinks. I mean, that's what I had initially thought it would be, but what we have during these meetings, that can come, that doesn't necessarily have to be discussed right now. I do think, well, maybe it does, if we're gonna pick meeting dates. Amanda?
Should we also say that as a board, we are expecting all of us to be there in person as if it was our annual meeting, and allow parents to attend virtually, but all board members should be there face to face?
I mean, if we're gonna allow, my thought hybrid would be, it should be open for hybrid. Like, I think we're gonna get more people who could just hop on, rather than, I mean, just look at it now. Like, there's no one here in person. And, to me, hybrid would just make sense even for a public forum. And as far as board members coming, I don't know. What do people think about that?
I don't think it needs to be mandatory. But if people can make it, I mean, that's sort of what's going on now, right?
Yeah.
And
It's better if we're all here, but it's also nice to have the hybrid option for us.
yeah, and if the majority of the people attending the meeting not on the board are virtual anyways, I don't think it's a big loss for us
Yeah.
to have,
No.
not have the whole board here.
You don't know what's going to happen in the fall. I mean, I'm sure you know if you're going to be busy with stuff, whether it be sports or,
Well, if we get the dates out there, then we can work around. it.
Yeah.
Waiting right before that, yeah, it's problematic.
okay. So the week of the 25th don't work for you. The week of the 18th, or sorry, 16th don't work for you.
Yeah,
How about the 24th? It's Tuesday.
Okay. The Tuesday, the 24th.
That works for me.
Okay. All right. So we have a date.
what,
What's that?
Yeah, we want another one, right?
Yeah.
7?
That work for you, Sid?
At this point, anything that far ahead is a shot in the dark. So I have no idea.
Okay.
If I got it written down, I'll throw it out there and see what goes on.
Okay. And then October.
October 2nd?
Okay. Do we want to do it that close together or?
I
Well-
think doing it close together kind of offers like what Mary was saying. If you couldn't make it the first week, you can make it the next week and your ideas are still fresh in your mind.
And if we're basically gonna have the same meeting twice,
Yeah.
but also with the opportunity to tweak a little bit if the first one wasn't optimal.
Okay. So October 2nd. Does that work for folks?
Over 2nd?
Yeah. Already have things planned out that far ahead. The October 2nd work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay.
Nope, I was filling it in.
All right. How long do we think these meetings should be? 2 hours? 1 hour?
Are we doing like 6 o'clock?
Oh, yeah. That's another good point. Yeah, probably.
I'd say no more than 2 hours if we are considering the daycare option because we'll have kiddos that parents may need to leave within 2 hours. So even an hour and a half if possible.
Yeah,
Hour and a
I
half.
think 2 hours is too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Everyone fine with hour and a half?
Yes.
At 6?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Should we plan something between the 24th and 2nd in case we want to make changes like George suggested? Or if that's the case, we would just call a special meeting it just wouldn't give us much time to warn something if on the 25th we decide we want to make a change for the 2nd.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally like the following week. So my thought would be, the next steps, and, tell me if it's kind of backwards though too, is, uh, what we want to have presented at these meetings. So we currently we're gonna have information brought to us, I think it's in August, that, September, sorry, I knew it was in there somewhere. For, I guess, the financial aspect of it. So the scenarios that we talked about at the last meeting, I think that'll be the next step, where we look at those and see, and basically set how we want to present this. Like we talked about, anything we want to add to it, take away from it, pros and cons. That's where we left off last month. And I think that would be the next step. Now that we have basically planned these forums, and then from there, probably messaging as well. And I think, as, Meredith message, what we want to put out there for, not just say consolidation.
Yeah,
That's something that we can work on in July and August as well.
because as much as this is delivering some information that we may get from an admin from central office, I feel like this is a gathering of information from
Yeah.
community members and to understand the tolerance for change in both communities,
Yeah, absolutely.
especially the first meetings, because honestly, the data that they're gonna gather for us will not fill up an hour and a half, and it's not in stone. These are round figure projections. I'm not seeing, so I think trying to understand what these options could be, both from our delivery point and from maybe community members who may say, no, we're not interested in doing any of this.
We can see a lot of different perspectives and a lot of feedback that could really
Yeah,
change.
especially with the VT Digger article by the Yale student who, based on the Act 46 mergers, determined that there was no savings in any mergers. And you haven't seen that?
No.
Oh, it's making the rounds. It was in Digger last week, I think.
Oh, wow.
It was an undergraduate student who was looking at the education funding model for the state of Vermont, relatively unique because, it's not just wealthy communities educating their kids with their money, it's the entire state. And so she did a study on how successful or how the merger went in terms of saving money, and it did.
Yeah. Well, I
Well,
think,
was that any surprise?
No, we all knew that. We all knew that when it happened. Although I will argue that we closed the supervisory union in order to merge, and I think our services from our current supervisory union far surpass anything we were getting from the previous relatively understaffed supervisory union. So the outcome or the services are better. Things like curriculum and just support in general is better, more comprehensive. But does that save money? No.
change in personnel a little bit there too, that helps.
Yes, but that's kind of inevitable.
It's a change in personnel. And one of them, so
That-
Mary?
Yeah, I mean, just personally, like I would want to emphasize that maybe the first two meetings are really just us, maybe doing a small presentation, but then just really listening to the temperature and the climate of the community. Only because we've been talking about this for a while, so it kind of it's gotten around to our little Middletown Springs school. I'm sure Wells parents are kind of thinking the same thing, and then just maybe moving forward, thinking about the consistency between the two meetings. I would hope that they are pretty similar. Just going back to that fact where, if I was a parent, I couldn't make one. I wouldn't want to feel like I missed out on, something that was said in this meeting and not that meeting, or there was decisions made in between, or there was even tweaking in between. If the board, thinks that's a good idea, just to have maybe the consistency between the two meetings.
Okay. Amanda?
I just wonder, I think to start, that consistency within the meetings is not a bad idea. I think that to start gathering our information, that'd be good. But I think if we consider going forward and then, we have meeting number 3, does that mean we need to have meeting number 3 and 4? And then if we have meeting number 5, we have to have meeting number 5 and 6. We can't just have 3 or 4. Like, I don't want to plan that each time we have a follow-up meeting with the public based on this, or to collect more information, that we plan on having the same thing twice over and over again, because I think that's really going to slow our process. But I think initially we should maybe offer the same thing in both buildings.
Yeah, and I agree
those are
with
maybe
you.
a little premature thoughts, but I think we should think about that now as well. So.
And I think maybe we can talk about that when that does happen. I mean, we might come into that meeting on, September or whatever. And we have, 15 families who show up, and every single one of them has the same thing to say. So I'm not sure if that'll happen or not, but.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I really hope we hear from our staff at these meetings too. Like, I don't know. And that's just a hope. I don't even know that that's an important statement, but I hope that we don't only hear from parents and taxpayers, but we hear from the people that will be continuing to work, or in addition to working in these buildings, because those are the people that are there every day. And I think that their feedback is really important in our decision making.
Okay. That just brought something to mind before we move on. On the 24th and then on the 2nd, where do we want to have each of these locations? Let's see. Then in September, our regular board meeting. So if we're gonna have these public forums at the schools, where do we want to have each one specifically? Like, it doesn't matter to me, but we could keep it in the same, because they're not on Thursdays. So that's good.
Where is our October meeting?
That's what I'm asking. Like,
Yeah,
where do,
September meetings here.
oh, our regular meeting?
Yeah, September was that. Facilities.
What's that?
We just figured out that the September meeting is at Middletown.
So
We're talking about
that's-
that
yeah,
facility, so
facility.
October will be here.
Okay. So do we want to keep the public forum in the same town as our regular meeting? Like, it doesn't matter. I just want to make sure we get a location on paper. That's all.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Anyone else? Did anyone object to that? Perfect. All right, so we're going to move on to, and we'll continue this discussion next month. All right, so we're going to move on to new business, the board retreat. So basically, we never did set a date for the board retreat, but the discussion for tonight would be, do we need a retreat? Do we need to have one? Or if so, what would we like to accomplish at that? So my thought is last year we did some goal setting, and we are still working toward those goals. And like, don't necessarily need to really revisit them. We had a check-in earlier this year. And so, you know, my thought is we can just continue on, but I think it's overall a board decision and discussion. I'm just starting the conversation, so I'll open it up to thoughts, suggestions. Amanda?
Could we schedule another check-in in a little while instead of a board retreat, since we may get further with that?
Yeah, we could. The only thing is, with the work that we're doing now is centralized around like the consolidation aspect. I don't think we're going to have that much more, I guess, change to our last check-in. You know, one suggestion that I had, like if we did have like a retreat, maybe we could do like a workshop type thing, where we're not necessarily looking at goals, but just looking at what you would call, I guess, like board professional development in a way, where we're looking at changes in open meeting law and the governance standards. Really taking a look at. But that, again, that was just something I was thinking that could benefit the board as a whole. And then also, there's a lot of information through the VSBA as well that probably wouldn't hurt to refresh on. So
The governance standards, is that, I mean, that's something I don't think the board's exactly up on.
yeah, I think.
And it's kind of an important thing that we have to deal with.
Right. It is, because it takes effect July 1 next year. And, just looking at our self-evaluation last month, there's some stuff that there's areas of improvement, I would say. Matt?
Yeah, I was just going to bring up the governance standards. Looking at that survey, there were items on there about like how we measure ourselves that we couldn't really answer, but at the time last month, but we thought would be a good idea to tackle going forward, like potentially at a retreat, discuss how we measure how effective we are and all that. And I like your idea, Eric, of like just using the time as well, just to like learn collectively.
Okay. Anyone else? So everyone's. So is everyone? And I guess if I gotta ask everyone here, think we should have some sort of retreat. Maybe we could roll it into August meeting. I don't know. More meeting dates, sorry.
August meeting is the 7th, is that? No, it's the 14th.
Yeah. I mean, if we're gonna work on, if we're gonna do like a board workshop, I don't anticipate like a lot of time for this, an hour.
Would it be a presentation that somebody would give from like SBA or what?
That's the next question. I mean, we could do, could do that. Of course, there's a cost associated with that too, FYI. But we could also do, there's a lot of webinars that they've already done on this. So as a board, we could even just like,
Watch a webinar together.
it doesn't really sound very enticing, but honestly, anyone can do that on their own. But I don't know. As far as the governance standards go, I have a pretty good understanding working on the task force of the governance standards. But you know, again, if that's all we're going to meet for, like, we could just do this in a regular meeting too. Like, we don't like, and that's kind of like the question, like, do we need to have a retreat? Do we need to have a retreat to do this stuff? Or can we just incorporate it in a regular meeting? I guess that's maybe how I should have started it off, but in terms of goal setting and stuff, is anyone objecting to just continuing with what we have and not reevaluating?
Yeah, I don't think you have to come up with brand new goals every year. And there's no guarantee you're gonna come to a solution within 12 months anyway.
Yeah.
It may take longer.
And you just look at the check-in that we had, that information Kathy had updated. Everyone should be out there in an email. I know it was forwarded on. You just take a look at that and you can see there's still a lot of, when you look at the work plan itself, there's still a lot to incorporate. So, all right. So that kind of settles the question around goals. I'm fine with not having a retreat, but if we want to look at, I guess, additional improvement from the board aspect, we can, like I said, incorporate it into meetings or set another meeting aside or try and split a regular board meeting. You know, I'm open to suggestions. Because we should probably determine that at this meeting before we get too far into the summer, really. So.
I don't mind adding an hour onto a school board meeting. Well, I do, but that would be most time effective. But a week in August, I'm going to be away. So, you know.
Okay. All right, so. Anyone else? Thoughts?
I think it should be part of a regular meeting and it should be just like an hour
Okay.
presentation and or watch a video, some sort of professional development. Learn something personal.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. That sounds doable. I mean, it's, you know, we have, I think, between governance standards, the changes to open meeting law, I think those might be good subjects. And again, it really just encompasses the understanding of some of these changes. And I think there were a couple other things, but yeah. All right. no one else has anything to add, we'll move on to the capital improvement fund. So, mentioned this before, where we had voter approval to take our surplus, um, part of our surplus of $65,000, put it into capital improvement reserve fund, putting up to 50% of it in there, which would be $65,000. And so Lewis had provided his recommendation on that. And so we would need to have a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion that we put 50% of the surplus into the capital improvement reserve fund,
In the amount of,
$65,000.
okay. Motion by George. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. All right. Community engagement newsletter. So, myself, Matt, and Amanda met with Greg Connors to talk about having a email subscription list, and if it was something that could be done and doable, and how difficult it would be. And I guess basically summarize, it's something that could be done, but this would be board managed, meaning that it'll be set up through SU accounts. But once those accounts are set up, it would be the subscription list would be managed, and the emails going out would be managed by a board member or board members to take on that work. I think I don't know, did I get all that, Amanda and Matt?
Yeah, I think you did.
And I think one thing that we talked about too, along the lines of this, because I don't know how much this is being done. You know, typically it gets kind of it's kind of board members sending out communications to the public. I think there's room for issues along those lines, but I do think that as a board, if we decide what will go out, and we did kind of talk about it last month, like as far as the idea is someone subscribes, and then we have their email address, and then like monthly the agendas go out. So when the agendas go out, it's just information. It's just because our agendas are posted online on the GSES website. They're posted on the schools and the clerks, town halls. But the idea is that if people don't go there, or they don't know that there's a school board meeting, but if they got this information and they saw, oh, this is on the agenda, there's that opportunity to listen and for input. So I think that's kind of like the whole idea behind it. And so agendas, and then what was it, Amanda, the weekly newsletters as well?
Yeah, I had put together some ideas, and my thoughts were that the agendas, the approved minutes, the annual SU calendars, unless they've been updated within the year, and then monthly school calendars, like what the principals put at the top of the weekly reports. Monthly, they post like the events and stuff. So I thought that those 4 things that are already available on our websites could be approved at one time and sent monthly. And then I was thinking for future things like budget information or community forum dates and information in regards to this timeline that we're discussing now, like chain of command, board member names, and maybe our term expirations, those kind of things would be discussed if we would send that information out and have to be approved before it's sent. And then I also thought that in addition to that, we could have like the weekly chalkboard or Friday notices, or if there's like a concert that's scheduled that's coming up, or if there's a summer program that's coming up, or if there's a volunteer opportunity, like maybe it's 4 Winds or a JISP driver or something that maybe we're looking for a community volunteer for, those kind of things would also be approved prior to posting, but maybe information that would be included as appropriate from the schools.
Okay. Yeah, I think if
So the automatic monthly things would be agendas, approved minutes, the annual SU calendar, that could just be like a link that's in there for them to access, and then monthly calendars for each school that are already on the websites that say like half day this day, or, you know, parent teacher conferences or a concert, or, you know, that monthly calendar that our principals put out.
most of that stuff is in those weekly school publications as well. But yeah, and I do think that those types of communications, you know, if the board supports it, they would just go out. But anything that is, you know, not within the realm of that, then it would probably need, in my thought, like some sort like board approval. You know what I mean? So, for example, when we start to do to put out information, like let's say on these public forums, you know, I think that message should be a board shared message, you know, and not just something put out. But as far as like minutes, agendas, the weekly publications, those things are not. Those are already public documents anyway, so it's not really.
We don't need additional approval.
Yeah. So, Mary?
Yeah, just to be clear, this is all tasked by the board itself. We're not asking any administrators of Wells or Middletown Springs to take on this, correct?
Correct. Yep. Amanda?
I also just learned of a new app. I learned of it today. Like the BRSU uses it. It's Stay Connected, and it's an app that can be used on Android or Apple. And it just has like calendars and information, and possibly like, I think we start with this email chain and see how our subscribe button goes, but potentially if we get a lot of people that are subscribing and gathering this, we did have some people in the survey that said phone and text was a good way to get them. Maybe this app would be both. It could be emailed and texted. That could be a future thing to look at maybe next year or after. Like I said, I just learned about it today, so I don't have a ton of information about it, but it seems like it's something that can also be emailed and texted in the same way that all of the emails that we're discussing can be sent.
Okay.
If we decide to grow this communication.
All right. Oh,
Is that going to be our measure of success, the subscriber list?
Well, Greg actually said that there is a way for them to easily. He's working with Shannon to get a subscribe button and hoping that that's something that can be done fairly easily. But he also said that if we send out something like budget information, for example, and we're curious how many people actually received the information or read it, that it's something that we could email him and he could pretty quickly within 5 minutes or so say, hey, you sent 60 emails and only 20 of them were opened, or you sent 60 and all 60 were opened. So I think that as time goes on and we're using this, we could get information from that as well to see if it is or is not working.
That would be a great way to measure it. Is it being used?
Yeah, taking it further, I mean, we actually don't need to email and we can see that in the app, open rates and all that. So we're empowered to see that stuff, which is cool.
Okay, so is there any objection to moving this along as far as engaging the community with information through email? No?
Sounds good.
Okay, and the same with what information goes out. I think that's important, because if we say only these things can go out, then that's it, you know. Matt?
Hey, so also I was hoping to get to it for this meeting, but for next meeting, I could take it as a little assignment. I can come up with a little draft template or idea of what an email could look like and circulate it for us to review and think about for next meeting.
Oh, yeah, if you want to do that and then bring it back, that'd be fine.
Great.
Okay. All right. Well, Amanda?
I'm sorry, one last thing while we're talking about it. Greg sent us that email address and the login, like if we use MailChimp and whatever. Do we need to decide now here in a public setting who can log into that? Or can you, Matt, and I be the three that access that? Do we need to give that information to the entire board? Is it only one person?
Oh, that's a good point. Thoughts from folks?
It should be at least 2 people.
These two people? Okay. All right. So yeah, why don't I would say Amanda and Matt, since you guys are already working on this, is anyone objecting to Amanda and Matt? You guys?
Not opposed to a third either. So.
Yeah, I'd say as chair, you could come in too, Eric, or
Yeah.
anyone else that wants to join.
Yeah, I mean, I got the account login information, so yeah, the more the merrier, as long as it's not, yeah. So, Chris, you want to jump into it? No,
We'll forward it to you, Chris. You can join. You can add those email addresses.
Don't need more than 30.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. And you know, here's the thing though, too, is it does help distribute the workload, you know, because one person may forget and just get so busy and oh, I didn't send those out. So I do think it's kind of like a checks and balances. So, all right. And again, for the purposes of, you know, I was going to say Mary, go ahead.
Oh yeah, just really quick. So just to clarify, this is probably going to be a once a month endeavor.
Yeah, I think that's what we talked about.
Okay, great. And I would just encourage it maybe to go out on the same day as the Friday notices, just so you know we're kind of, I guess, concise if it's possible to do that. Just so, you know, like I know I'll you know I always get, you know, Friday morning or whatever, I'm going to get an email from Sue, you know, basically planning the rest of the week for next week. So if that's possible, that's just a suggestion.
I think it aligns with the agendas going out too, and then also, you know, minutes as well. So And that was the next thing I was gonna say. So, if no one's objecting to, what we send out, again, minutes, agendas, weekly publications, we can just, agree to that by unanimous consent. So if anyone objects, speak now. If that, then we shall move on to pausing. Perfect. Okay. We'll move on to the truancy officers 24-25.
Thanks, Eric. I'll be pretty quick here. So, our GRCSU policy F15, student attendance basically requires that by July 3rd of each year, that the board appoints or approves truancy officers for the following school year. And basically what a truancy officer does, it's not a separate position. It's just someone who basically tracks attendance. And I know that each year superintendents meet with the state's attorney's office and reviews the truancy process and procedures that are outlined. And really what the truancy officer would do is just to ensure that those procedures are being followed. And so therefore, if a student has excessive absences, particularly around unexcused, there is a very step-by-step format that they have to follow, which leads up to in very extreme situations where there could be potentially a court appearance. And so that's where we have in the past, we've looped in both building administrators, but also our SROs. And so our recommendation would be that this year that we continue with that Carol and Corey would be the truancy officers, along with our GRCSU school research officer, who would assist with potentially home visits or affidavits, or if there is a need to go to court, the SRO would go to courts, the building administrator would not go to court. And that's an extreme circumstance. So we just need a motion from the board to approve these individuals as the truancy officers, or identified as truancy officers for next year.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Meredith. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, thank you. Policy, so we have just 3 policies that B2, E2, and F10. These policies are actually being rescinded from our policy manual. Are there any questions regarding these policies? If not, seek a motion to rescind.
I'll move we send these 3 policies, B2, E2, and F10.
All right, motion by George. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, moving on to our second public comment. Is there anyone here tonight who would like to speak? All right. Next meeting date is July 10th at Middletown Springs. And that concludes our business. A motion to adjourn would be in order at 7:24.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Meredith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.